Greetings, salutations, hello, how are you? My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. For whatever reason, Derek has rigged my seat where I'm sitting lower today. That's fine.
Did not touch your seat.
No, I think you did.
Did not touch anything. I don't touch anything here in the studio, except I arrange all of these in a pleasing manner early in the day before we come in.
You didn't, but Lou Malnati's logo is on the front of that tomato, so it should be sitting right front and center like that.
Okay, that's fine.
Was not, you did not
well, then you
arrange
come
it.
in here early and arrange them. I mean, I guess you got your day job.
It's not
Jake's
even a
on the
day-
radio. Oh,
It's
boy.
a morning job, Derek.
We have to cater everything around Jake's still continuing radio career.
Well, hey, what can I say?
Let's
This
have to
is
deal with
episode
it.
96 of this fine program, the charitably award-winning Query and Schultz show here on ISC Sports Network. 96 meaning, Derek, that you said Cortez Kennedy?
Yeah, Pavel Bure, I know we're not hockey people, but they both wore
by the way,
96.
is that the late Cortez Kennedy?
I don't know the answer to that. Let me look
It
it up.
might be. I'm not
Did
positive.
he pass? Because he would have played in the 90s. He wouldn't have been that old. But did he
He had a
tragically pass
tryout.
somehow?
He had a cup of coffee
Oh, wow,
with the
you're
Rams
right.
when I was in St. Louis.
He passed 5 years ago.
Did he really?
Yeah. 1992 DPOY.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Is he a Hall of Famer? He should be if he's not.
He was really good.
Yes, he is a Hall of Famer.
He was really good, but that shelf fell off pretty quickly. But the Rams gave him, I don't even know if he made the roster.
He was one of the best players of the 90s defensively.
was a very good
The
player.
problem is that Seattle was nothing back then. They weren't the cool franchise that they are right now. I don't see this. Okay,
Well,
here
they're
it
kind
is.
of back to nothing again.
48 years old, was alone when he passed and had experienced symptoms of heart failure, including swollen legs and dizziness. So he had been hospitalized right before that. So that I don't know if they know, but sad thing, obviously, 48 years old. God.
Yeah, so 96, I guess when I think of 96, I think of two things. I think of 1996, and that was the year, the Final Four, when Mississippi State was kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
And I was just desperate for anybody
Eric
that might be able to
Dampier,
beat Kentucky.
Dante Jones.
UMass, Kentucky, Syracuse.
Yep, John
what
Wallace.
He was on
Yeah.
fire in that tournament, and Mississippi State. And then there was a song by Stone Temple Pilots that was on MTV every 5 minutes.
Interstate Love Song with the mime in the truck.
No,
I hated that one.
This was the one that was on the da 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 da. Okay, you tell me. I'll pull
Greg,
it up.
do you know?
You're not helping
This is
me out
your
here.
wheelhouse. Okay, Greg knows what
Does
one.
anybody know? No. What's the name of that song?
Flies in the Vaseline.
No, that is Stone Temple
blows my
Pilots though.
mind.
Hold on, I'll come up with the name of the song here, and then I'll play it over my phone. No, that's not it either.
Yesterday.
No, that's not it.
They were huge. I went to an STP show. They were here for the Final Four in 2010 when it was Butler and everybody. And Scott Weiland, right?
Correct.
He is also no longer with us, right?
That is also
okay.
correct.
He was trying to list all the names of the Final Four, and I think he said Michigan instead of Michigan State, and he named the first three, and there was this big pause, and everyone's like, all right, come on, say Butler. He's like, and congratulations, Butler. And everyone's like, whoa. But it did not sound good. It was
is
not
the
the
name of that
STP that I remember.
In
Plush,
the next
that was the
segment,
other big song.
how's that go?
Let me try to think. Now I'm mixing it up with Wicked
This-
Garden. Wicked
this-
Garden was another one that they
This
had.
particular video, they were all just standing in like a white room, and they were like, da 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 da. Does anybody know what?
Let me see here. Sorry, we have like a ton of sports stuff to get to.
I know,
so
but
I didn't
we'll do
mean
that.
to just do all of this here. Singles. Here we go. Sex Type Thing was a big song. Plush, Creep, Vaseline, Interstate Love Song. Was it off of Purple or Core or I mean
This
they had
is
a couple of really
96.
big albums.
Okay.
Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart. I like that one.
No.
That was a good song. Big Bang Baby.
Big Bang Baby, that might be
Yeah.
it. That's it, Big Bang Baby. Can
I-
you play that?
I don't know what
Here,
that
I'll
was.
play it here
No,
for
this
you.
isn't like our radio show, Jake, where I have the entire Q95 and Alt 103, the entire catalog of songs that we can just play. So no,
When
we
I play
don't
it,
have
though,
license to do
when
that
I play
here
it, you're
at
going to
IC.
say to yourself, "That's amazing how much that sounds exactly like what Jake was just saying."
Yeah, no, I know the song that you're talking about now. Yeah. Once you
Yeah,
start
remember this?
doing that.
This was on like every 3 minutes. Okay.
There's no cursing in there, is there? I mean, not that it matters. We've dropped F-bombs about sandwiches before on this show, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's talk about the news of the day. I was going to start talking Colts, but of course this morning we're taping this right now. It's lunchtime basically on Monday. If you're listening, whenever you're listening to this, so late breaking in the last couple of hours, the third party facilitator, for lack of a better term, between the NFL and NFLPA for the Deshaun Watson situation, the judge has come down with terms 6 games for Deshaun Watson. Doesn't appear that the NFLPA is going to appeal. I mean, they got to be thrilled, honestly, that it's just 6 games. NFL has 3 days. So by the time you're listening to this, they might have already appealed. But just getting your initial reaction, because obviously Watson being in the division for all those years and still being in the AFC, it's a note. I mean, it's a noteworthy NFL storyline, regardless of who you root for, but I think particularly with the Colts.
But here's the thing. I saw someone that pointed this out to me, and I think it's a very astute point, that perhaps his penalty was alleviated by the fact he sat out all of last year. Okay, except that he was paid, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really a penalty.
And he didn't want to be a Texan anyway.
He basically got 1 quarter for every allegation. So for every woman that has sued Deshaun Watson for sexual misconduct, he was penalized 1 quarter that he can't play.
Yeah. What really bothers me about this, no fine, and the game checks that you forfeit because the Browns finagled his contract in a way where it wasn't going to penalize him. He's only going to lose $350K. That really bothers me.
Yeah, out of $200 million.
I don't think the Browns should be allowed to finagle their way out of a significant financial penalty for Deshaun Watson. I think that's garbage. That bothered me way more than the actual amount of games.
Let me tell you 2 things here that I think to go on both sides of it. And I don't know that I need to give the disclaimer that I love Deshaun Watson as a college football player because he played at Clemson. I watched every game he played. There were no indications that this was the behavior that you were inheriting with Deshaun Watson, professionally speaking. I don't know him as a person. Never met him. So I can't speak for what he's like as a person. Let's begin with this. The allegations against him are totally gross and distasteful and misogynistic and egomaniacal. And to say that the NFL's always been big. The NFL went from big to mammoth, largely in part because of women. Because if you look at the NFL's meteoric rise, and it's always been big, but when it really became the American household brand that it is, was when fantasy football came about, and suddenly guys who were always, watching football and whatever else, now all of a sudden their wives wanted to watch with them.
Yeah.
And they're buying pink Tony Romo jerseys or Patrick Mahomes or whoever it might be, and the women are interested too, and now all of a sudden it's become like this family sport where Sunday became the American calendar instead of just for guys. So the NFL prides itself on being this women-friendly, family-friendly institution. At its core, it is still a misogynistic league that talks a good game about doing the right things, but when the opportunity's there, does it. Now, in this particular case, it was outside the NFL where the penalty was levied. So I can't necessarily say the NFL went light on him because the NFL
It wasn't their call.
Correct.
Yeah.
It wasn't their call in their defense. But so there is that side of it of it feels like when 24 different women claim that you acted inappropriately in front of them. Now, for those that are unaware, and I can't imagine that he was not charged with physically assaulting women. He was charged with acting inappropriately around them from a sexual standpoint. We'll leave it at that. But the other side of it, Derek, and I'm only saying this to present devil's advocate, the other side of it is, legal investigators and a grand jury investigated all of the evidence and looked over everything and decided not to try him, not to charge him. So there is something to be said of to what line do you draw in the sand of how much you can penalize somebody without charges being filed against them?
Yeah, the issue is that in these he said, she said cases, it's very difficult to bring something to trial and win. So I think a lot of times with these grand juries, it's like, look, we think he did these things, even if you think he did this,
evidence,
but we can't try him because we're not going to win,
Right.
or it's going to be very difficult to win. So yes, you're right that formal charges, I guess, weren't brought, but that doesn't mean that these things didn't happen. And I'm not one of those people that just gives a blanket, yes, believe every allegation that is ever made about anybody, because certainly there have been made up allegations. I mean, you go back and you look in just in sports. Remember that Duke lacrosse case?
Yeah.
Like that was a whole fiasco, and it turned out that none of that stuff was true. So I'm not one of those people as well, but I'm kind of like you. 24 people say something. My mind, I'm trying to think of what's the most rational explanation for this. Is it rational to think that there is a 24-person conspiracy to bring down Deshaun Watson?
Of people that probably don't know each other?
Yeah, or is it more likely that Deshaun Watson actually did these things? And I think it's far more plausible to think the latter. But my thing is, Jake, is that if you're going to punish somebody, punish them. And far too often, when these cases, either if it's the NFL's call or if it's a third-party arbitrator that's call, the punishment just doesn't fit what the allegations are. And, $8 million, $10 million, that is a punishment. $350K in 6 games is not a punishment.
I mean, what does he make?
$230 million.
Over how many years?
I think he's making $55 million.
So $230 million, you said?
Yeah.
And he was fined how much?
The 6 game checks will be $350K because his actual game salary is only like $1 million, isn't it?
Okay, hold on.
The Browns got it way down.
So this is the equivalent of what's a good average American salary to say?
The median household income is what, like $65,000?
We'll say 80. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent.
I haven't looked that up in a long time. I don't know.
So let's say somebody making we'll say $100,000. Okay.
Okay.
This is the equivalent of an accountant that makes $100,000 being fined, doing something wrong at work and being fined $760.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's even worse. I mean, like if we took your IndyCar salary and said, what would this be? It'd be pocket change. It'd sound like a lot of money to a normal person, but like $2,500 to Jake, that's a write-off.
It's
like, who cares?
Derek, I gotta speak quick when I'm out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know what I mean. It's a unique skill set.
So glad the racing season's over, so at least the Indy portion of it is over, so I don't have to hear about it anymore.
Well, there's still several races left. We got Gateway.
Oh,
Monterey.
No, I know, but
Portland,
the Indy
got
races
Nashville.
especially, you just over.
I see what you're
It's
saying.
like,
You mean
okay,
at the
I get it.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
I get it. He's on the radio network. All right, great.
Well, the reality is that the racing season, in fact, is winding down, and that means that Colts season is ramping up, right? So there's a lot to talk about with the Colts.
And this was going to be our lead topic before the Watson stuff.
I look
Once
really
we saw
washed
that
out. Is that are the lights that bright? Look how bright my face lit. Do I need powder?
No, I think it looks okay, right? My forehead's a little tough because
but I mean, like, look, like right in here, it's all like I look like a light bulb. Is it always like this?
It looks a little red.
Yeah, like everything.
Is that from your blood pressure from your heart or whatever?
Yeah, probably. And then my face looks really fat. I'm gaining weight again, aren't I?
No, I don't think you're gaining weight. You know what? If you are, drawstring pants are a new thing. Like I'm wearing drawstring pants right now.
Okay.
And it's nice because you just adjust based on, like, let's say I eat a fried chicken dinner or something like that. I can adjust the drawstring pants accordingly. Whereas my regular pants sometimes can be tough. Not that I'm eating fried chicken all the time, but
okay.
Yeah, drawstring pants are the new thing.
So the Colts season is underway, Derek, and a lot to talk about with Colts camp. I mean,
yeah, you were out there.
I was out for day one.
Did you stick around for when they were, or were they practicing
there
while
day only? I have not been to a practice yet.
So, because I was just curious, the crowd on Saturday night, apparently it was 7,500 fans. It was what a spectacular weekend, weather-wise anyway, but Saturday night especially. And it's a lot of the same names and faces that we've seen the last couple of years. And, Paris Campbell and Ben Banigou, I don't think anybody questions that they have talent.
Right.
It's, can we talk about them in November and December instead of July and August?
You know, this morning we had an interview with Chris Ballard, and I asked him the question of what player or players are the hardest to evaluate from practice to game? Like a guy that looks great in practice.
To translate, right?
Who's the hardest to translate? And he said offensive line. That's probably true, in any situation. It's hard to know from one game to the next. But he did say receiver because you never know how guys are going to be until they get lit up a few times or have the threat of being lit up.
Yeah, they know they're not going to get pounded, right? That answer, that's not one that I would have thought of, but that answer actually makes a lot of sense. But I was thinking about, as much as we talk about Matt Ryan, DeForest Buckner, Shaquille Leonard. See, I caught myself. I was able to say it in time. We know who those guys are. We know the impact that they are.
Well, Shaquille Leonard we're still getting used to, but we know who Darius Leonard is. Right?
The Colts have all of these kind of ancillary pieces where I think this is very much a what-if season. Like, the reason why there are a wide range of possibilities for this year's Colts is because if a couple of things hit, I think they can be really good, but it's still a big what-if. And so I was kind of making a what-if list last night, and then I thought I'd ask you, hey, this would be a good topic for the show. Like, who are some X-Factor names where you're like, hey, if this guy has a really good season, the Colts are having a really good season?
The first one that jumps out, and I think that Jim Irsay loves this guy, Ashton Dulin.
Yeah.
They need somebody in that receiver room to step up, and I think that they love the athleticism and the ability to get behind the ball of Ashton Dulin.
But it's honestly, though, I know that they like Dulin because they've said that. The guy that really unlocks this Frank Reich offense is Campbell.
For sure.
If Campbell hits, I think that adds a whole new – because the Colts don't have anything like that. You could go out on the street and find 10 Ashton Dulins right now probably if you really wanted to.
Well, Ashton's
Campbell's
an unusual first name.
Talent and skill set makes him different and a real separator in this offense, a real wild card. So if he's healthy and available – I think I'm kind of past time expecting Campbell to be like this standout player. I just want Paris Campbell to be their second best receiver.
Right.
Yeah, I just want like 40 catches.
I think
or whatever
if you could be
else.
Zach Pascal, you'd be happy.
Yeah, if you can get 40 catches and 600 yards and 6 tuds from Paris Campbell, I think that's a pretty good year. The tuds thing is more of just his big playability. So even if you could stretch that out to like 8-10 tuds, that'd be great.
Wasn't it? Hold on. Weren't you big on Tutty for a while?
Nobody really says that anymore. Tutty sounds kind of stupid. Nobody really says Tud. Tud bombs are the two ones that we're going to incorporate for this year on the show. So stay tuned for that here on Query and Schultz. We're always ahead of the curve. So it's kind of like
we're ahead of the curve in the fact that I said Tutty's was lame.
In the 90s when people said, I'm in the house. And then it became, everyone started saying it, and it became kind of lame. So then it was, I'm in the heezy. So up in Heezy, and you say that, and it just kind of evolves. So as other uncool people take it and run with it and popularize it, you have to kind of stay edgy and cool.
Please stay around later where we'll tell you more about the very cool and hip-hop phrases of Trumbull, Connecticut from 1997.
Well, the thing is, Jake, things change and evolve. Like most things change. Sorry. I mean, you were looking at my co-host here. He hasn't, he's got the same outfit and haircut since like 1998. Most things change and evolve over time, and different things kind of become cool.
You're wearing a green T-shirt.
Yeah. This is and drawstring pants, which are cool, and they're high up, which are cool, which also show off a little bit of the legs as well. So this is a good yin and yang on the show.
You're wearing Garanimals outfits, and you're telling me that I have not evolved.
You're old school, and I'm new school.
Okay.
So it's a good yin and yang on the show. It's actually important for us to have that sort of back and forth. So I attract a different audience than you do.
Yeah, we just haven't figured out what that is.
Like a younger audience, heavily female. Like I attract that level of audience, and you attract like, God love them, but like Joe Hall and like people that have watched every IndyCar race for the last 20 years and are 60 to, what do we say? Your age range? 60 to dead is basically the target audience for somebody like Jake.
What was Cortez Kennedy?
He was 48.
Okay, well, apparently he falls into my demographic.
I'm still uncomfortable making that joke. But yes,
I'm just
R.I.P.
saying.
to Cortez Kennedy.
Okay, so Ashton Doolin to me is one player, Derek, that if he Paris Campbell's a really good call. There's got to be, defensively they really need. I mean, listen, we don't know what Ngakoue is, but we do, right? Because he's been a good player.
He's going to be fine. Yeah, I can't imagine that Ngakoue is awful.
Nick Cross,
like Trent Cole or something.
Nick Cross would be one. I mean, they
Yeah.
have high expectation for him. He's super athletic. Can he be a Julian Blackmon level player?
Well, what's Stephon Gilmore going to be? I mean, that's one that I like. Like if Stephon Gilmore
Highly
finds
paid, that's what he's gonna be.
well, but if he finds that fifth gear, I'm not saying he's going to be like DPOY level player again. But
It's defensive
if
player
he,
of the year.
Remember when they signed Xavier Rhodes?
Yes.
And everyone's like, well, Xavier Rhodes is cooked. Like his last season in Minnesota, he was a disaster. He played really well.
He did.
Like if for that 1 year, if Gilmore could get to that level again, and suddenly you have a cornerback back there who you can trust, and you already know what you're going to get with the front seven, I think you feel pretty good.
I don't know what just made me think of this. Where did Vontae Davis go for like 2 weeks before
Buffalo.
he retired?
And then he retired at halftime, I think, in a game.
I think that's
Where he just said, I'm not coming out. I'm good, man.
Guy's my hero.
That is people said that's the worst way to go. That's the best way to go. When you
guy's
just
my
decide
hero.
like halfway through and you're like, I'm good.
Speaking of which,
Yeah. See you later. Well, I'll go ahead and take that check for you that we just wrote for you. So if you're
no,
gonna
this
just
is already
walk out.
that's
No,
already for services
that
rendered.
is that is contingent on today.
No, that is for. Well, I'm here.
You have to look at the fine print of the contract. You have to complete the show.
Where'd that check go?
I don't know. Did you lose it already?
I think I did.
God.
Can you give me another one?
It's time for our Lou Malnati's. Excited about this for August. New football season. New segment.
Right.
Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking this week. So Lou's has been a great partner of ours throughout the spring. They are continuing throughout the fall and the rest of 2022 because they know how to take a great brand and marry it with another great brand. Corey and Schultz, can you stop looking at your check? I want to do this segment here. I want to do this right. I'm going to send this to them. So if they see you like looking at your show check, then they're going to be like, why am I even
I would like to share with
doing
you
this? This is a selfish guy. I don't want to brand with him.
a guy that I grew up down the street from, Greg Bell. Good dude.
You got to talk into the.
I am talking into the mic. Greg Bell, who is a
about
guy that I grew up down the street from him. I just happen to be Facebook friends with him. I mean, obviously I've known him a long time. And I'm scrolling Facebook yesterday. I got back from the races. I'm scrolling through, and I see a picture of Greg, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That looks like a fabulous, fabulous deep dish pizza. He said, I promised an update of the food here in Indy. I got the world-famous Chicago-style deep dish pizza that comes standard with sausage all throughout the inside of the deep dish. Ordered pepperoni on top. One slice was enough for a full meal, but I had to have more. The server was fantastic, and the view from the back patio looks out at the legendary Connor's Pub. I give it a 5 out of 5. Talking about Lou Malnati's and Broadway.
Heck yeah.
How about that?
Most people give it a 5 out of 5. How could you not?
Absolutely.
Pizza Run Indy, great success on Sunday. I saw some pictures. Our friend, formerly of Fox 59, who's engaged to Pat Boylan of the Pacers radio network. Alexa Green ran in that. I know a couple of other media representatives.
When you say our friend, I've never met Alexa. Is she your friend?
You don't think? I don't know. We all know the same media people, right? You don't know Alexa?
Alexa
I guess
would have
she's
no idea who I
more
am.
like our age.
She knows
level.
Pat Boylan,
Yeah.
and I know Pat Boylan, but I've never met Alexa.
See, again, under 30. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here with the crowd that I attract on this portion of the show.
Do you know Alexa?
And yes, very well.
Like
and
if
Pat.
she- if-
and
if-
Pat. Yeah, Pat is another like young rising. I'm a young-ish rising star, and I like to associate with other young rising stars. There's some people that aren't in that category, but yeah.
When you are around Alexa and Pat, do they ever ask, "Oh, how's Jake?"
No, that's my son.
Yeah, your
asks.
son.
Yeah. who asked if he could sleep over. And I said, absolutely not. I've been in there. It's a 2-bedroom apartment where he lives alone. There's a mattress on the floor. You cannot sleep in there. It's not safe.
Your son could come over and I can
No.
show. And now this is a letter from Mr. Manson.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
It'd be fun.
Ben Banigou, who we just mentioned, he's my Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking this week. 4th year now. Isn't that hard to believe that this is year 4? Here's the thing about Banigou, though. He does this every camp. He is in the 20 years that I've been around the Colts, he would make the training camp all-star team.
Drew Haddad first-team training camp all-star.
Training camp all-star. Every year, Banigou does well, and he looks great, and then the games start, and he's like a healthy scratch.
Right.
I had heard that he and Eberflus and some of the position coaches who are no longer there, for some reason, had a disconnect. He's kind of a nice, laid-back dude, and I don't know, personality-wise, they didn't feel like he was a dog, I guess. So I'm taking some of this like as secondhand. This is not something that I was directly told by one of those coaches or anything. This was I asked somebody who would know, hey, what is the deal? Why does Banigou never play? And they said, look, he kind of fell out of favor with them early.
So
and
he might
always
have a fresh start here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Banigou is going to start playing and just be amazing, but I think some people were looking at that as healthy scratch. He can't play. There's some politics and stuff that are involved in that too.
Okay, I'm going to go with, for my Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking, I'm going to go with Paris Campbell. And I know exact other side of the ball, exact same thing, Derek.
Sure.
With Paris Campbell, it was strictly the fact that it was a health issue to get on the field. We know that he has the ability to be a big playmaker. The Colts are going to need it this year, no question about it. They need a second or third receiver behind Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce, it remains to be seen what he can do as a rookie. So Paris Campbell is a guy so far that has made plays in camp. What does that mean? It doesn't necessarily immediately translate. We know that. So they're going to have to see him. But for right now, so far, so good with them. Now, the other one that we could come up with would be Grover Stewart, because we know he cooks. If you watched Hard Knocks, he was cooking wings and everything for everybody. But
I still have to try the Lou's wings.
Here's the thing.
Soon.
And I understand that Lou Malnati's has wings, but when you go there, you got to get the wings and the pizza. But, I mean, the pizza itself.
It's tough.
The tomatoes are literally this big.
It's tough to go there and not get the pizza.
Forever, you had to drive to Chicago to get Lou Malnati's. The owning family with ties to Indiana with IU. Now they're here in Indianapolis. You don't have to go all the way to Chicago, even though we love Chicago, to get their pizza. But the other thing, too, is, look, we've been affiliated with them now, Derek, for what, 6 weeks? A couple of months?
Yeah, longer than 6 weeks, 4 months.
4 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that time, they've already done like 3 or 4 different charitable events.
I know, yeah.
For organizations. I mean, they are doing things to be involved in the community. They're invested in the community. So when you go to Lou Malnati's, what you are doing is not only getting the best Chicago-style deep dish pizza that you can find, but you are actually putting your money into a company that keeps it right here in the community and is committed to the different charitable causes in this area.
Yeah, my son did his summer reading list, Indianapolis Public Library, and got a Lou Malnati's gift card.
Seriously?
For completing the amount of
very
hours,
cool.
yeah. 4 locations.
Was he at Nora with me?
West 86th Street. We actually went to the Glendale branch to do that. West 86th Street, Carmel, Greenwood, which just opened recently, and then our favorite in Broad Ripple, and then a 5th location, Avon, projected for the fall. So a couple of weeks away from a West Side location as well. Order.loumalnatis.com. We'll talk racing when we get back. Jake's on the radio network, so he was there for the entire time. Oh, wow. What does Jake have to say about the races? We'll do that. It is Query and Schultz, so I guess your input is important. We'll be back with more next. ISC Sports Network.
Alexa Green asked you that?
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
College wasn't built for me.
I didn't care if I had to work a double shift.
Or if my kid had a fever.
Deadline's a deadline.
I want to set the deadlines.
I want to take tests when I'm ready.
I want to take courses on my time.
And speed up when I know my stuff.
I want a university that cares about me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the nonprofit university of you.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Their golf outing right around the corner, August 11th. So a week from Thursday for our friends at Bailey & Wood.
I look forward to that. They do a great job.
It's awesome. I mean, last year was was crazy. It was like half golf outing, half rock concert.
I have it on my phone.
Half IndyCar festival. I mean, it was Mike and his crew put out all of the fireworks for a golf. This was no just like, hey, show up and play a little golf. I mean, they had everything going on.
Helicopter
They had
drops.
a helicopter drop. Jeff Saturday was there. Jeff Saturday will be there again this year, as will some other guests. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who's going to be there, but I saw the VIP celebrity list. I mean, obviously we're on the VIP celebrity list too, but there are some others that
Is
are going to be
Alexa
there.
Green going to be there?
August 11th.
Your BFF?
I didn't say that. I said I thought that we were all like, Pat too. I
do
thought
know
we
Pat.
were all friends.
I sit next to Pat at games.
Yeah.
I've never met Alexa.
Okay. BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME. A ton of Indiana branch locations. If you want to check that out online, there's one near you. Also expanding into Florida as well. But they are Indiana's mortgage lender. We are very Indiana-centric, especially now that Luz is here too.
Totally.
I want to talk about these local businesses, and there's nothing greater and more local and that gives back more than Bailey and Wood and their terrific team.
Speaking of Indiana, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Driving here to the taping, you have to go through some cornfields.
Yep.
And we're past knee-high on the 4th of July.
Yes. Corn looks good.
For you, it's knee-high by 4th of May.
No.
Do you know what percentage of corn that's grown is actually for human consumption?
10%.
How did you know that?
I've been in Indiana almost 20 years.
How did you know that?
I've been in Indiana almost 20 years.
Do you know the largest percentage, what it's used for?
Ethanol, right?
No.
I don't know.
Livestock feed.
Oh, really? That makes sense, I guess. Yeah. But a lot of it goes to that, like soybeans, that's the case too, right? Where a lot of people aren't like going to the grocery to get soybeans,
Right.
but for fuel, I think is what they use a good chunk of it for.
That's all of this is in my environmental conservation class.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I saw you studying the other day.
That is correct.
Yeah,
yes.
no, 10%.
You were impressed by that, weren't you? I mean,
Yeah.
you looked at my textbook and you said it looked very hard.
I was, but I mean, you asked me a question like that. Like, there are two people at this table. One of us already has a college degree. So most of the stuff you ask me, I'm going to know because I have something that you don't.
Zero chance that
Yeah.
that 10% question was in your college degree that you got. What was your major?
I was a sport communication broadcast major.
Okay.
I was a telecom minor. So, yeah. I took enough TCOM classes to automatically make me a minor as far as that was concerned. Yeah.
Okay.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced that the attendance was flat year over year for the weekend, but 120K total. They said 60K on Sunday. Depending on who you talk to, there's some people that felt like the Saturday crowd was bigger.
No, Sunday was bigger.
Okay. This is the thing, Jake. Depending on where you are, it's impossible to know how many people are there.
Right.
So the people on Twitter that are like, oh, there's no way there were 60K there. There were 20K there. And then there are some people that are like, oh, man, I felt like there was, I saw somebody say, I think there were 80K.
Here's the easiest way to say it, Derek.
It's so hard to tell. It's such a massive facility.
If you took, take the oval, okay? The sections that were open, turn 1 was open and available. Turn 4 was open and available. A small sliver of turn 2 was open and available.
Main straight was, right?
Main straight was open and available.
Which might be a mistake. Maybe they should just
So-
start papering over the main straight because that's what they show on
So
TV.
if you, that is 1, 2, 3. There were 90,000 available seats. Maybe 100 available seats. So what percent in the sections you saw of people sitting were the sections, were people seating 1 every 4 seats, 1 every 3 seats, etc. I think it's safe to say that if that was 100, that roughly half of those sections were half to a quarter full.
Yeah.
So that comes out to 40 to 45,000.
Yeah. What I don't get is that
Plus infield and whatever else.
specifically with it's one thing with the oval. Like the oval, you go and you sit and you sit where you're sitting. The road course races, and I have not yet been to the NASCAR road course race, but I've been to the IndyCar road course race, particularly in May. It's static. You move around. I go to the turn 2 mounds and then I go over to turn 4 and see a friend of mine. And then, I'm never stationary really in one place. So people judging it being like, well, there's nobody in the seats. Well, you wouldn't have seen me. For the most part, I'm walking
fair.
around.
Listen, here's the thing. Auto racing in general is in a difficult spot because the sports dollar is spread thin. The high-def television in today's, low angle with the cars going past is probably more appealing to a lot of people than going to the event.
Yeah.
And the automobile just is not the same cachet as it was 25 years ago in terms of the American culture. That's the reality. They have, with the NASCAR side of it, Derek, they took it away from the oval and put it on the road course. It's only in the second year of the road course, and people are already starting to talk about going back to the oval.
Which is ridiculous, right? Look, Jake, you know me. I'm a bit of a complainer, just a little bit. I've complained a lot about NASCAR at Indy, and I felt the right to complain because my dad and I were paying customers for years for the Brickyard. We always
had
went.
his car broken into.
Yeah, well, yeah, you love retelling that story
for
some reason. Yeah, well,
on the day of the Brickyard,
we parked at a church, and every time we drive by that church now, my dad just curses it, which probably isn't good. He's in his 70s now. He probably shouldn't be cursing churches. But anyway, I've complained about this race and criticized it a lot, but at this point, it's already bottomed out, right? We saw it at its worst a couple of years ago. I mean, my dad and I were at the 2017 race. There is no way there were more than 30,000 people there. Zero chance. It was empty, and it was depressing. If you're drawing 60K and 120K, if we're going to close, who knows how long the shared date with IndyCar continues. Right. But if it's going to be a doubleheader event and you do 120K, everyone's happy with that.
Well, I mean,
right?
look at the attendance of
That's
other
fine.
races.
60K is fine in the grand scheme of things. It's not that big of a deal, and we still want to, put up lights. And why would you go to all that trouble? It is what it is. You are never going to have 150,000 people in that place anymore for a NASCAR race.
I don't think they can put up lights because of the fact that it is in, and I know that Speedway owns most of the area around it, but it is still in a residential area in the heart of the city. And so to put up lights means to run it at night. And how many police officers are you having to pull away from the city to have on patrol, working parking and everything else?
If you were going to get a significant ROI on putting up lights,
return on investment.
If you were going to get a significant ROI, you would have done that already.
Right.
That would have been like the first thing Penske did,
That's
right?
fair.
If he thought that there was going to be an ROI. You're not going to get a return on investment there. Because let's say you run it at night and then you run it on the oval. Okay, you do that the first time for the novelty. What do you draw? 80? 90? I mean, maybe you creep up towards 100. Once the novelty wears off and everybody realizes this is just a crappy race at night, it's going to be the same exact situation again. To me, the point of putting it at night was to avoid the weather, because when this was a regular second week of August event, it was oppressively hot.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest reason for some of the problems the last couple of years has been NASCAR jerking the date around. If we're going to keep it somewhere and just accept it for what it is, this can be a worthwhile event for NASCAR, for IMS, and for fans. If you just stop pretending like it's going to be 1995 again, it's never going to be that race again, ever. That's gone forever at all the NASCAR tracks, except maybe Daytona. That's gone.
What was the most crowded you ever saw the Brickyard? Did you ever go when it was like?
Oh yeah, I went in 06. One of the years that Stewart won. 05?
05.
Okay, and it was, it wasn't 250,000 people, but it was well into the six
I remember
digits.
Going, Derek. The early years of it. Being out there and just, Dave First and I were talking about it. I'm like, man, you remember what it was like in 99, 98? I mean, it was.
Well, didn't tens of thousands of people come out for the test in 92 or whatever?
Crazy.
But then, I had heard that the racing was better back then, but, it's never going to be. IRP is a little bull ring. That's built for stock car racing. A super speedway is just not, with the banking and everything, it's just not. It's not built for those level of cars.
It is interesting, too, some of the names that were in it that you're like, were they there? I mean, Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch. Brad Keselowski. I mean, it's a passing of the torch. But the new young names, Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs and Chase Elliott. I mean, these are talented guys.
Yeah.
Harrison Burton, but I don't know that people get excited for it.
It's finding its footing, though. It appears that ratings and attendance are a little bit better this year, and post-COVID, It feels like things are starting to get a little bit better. Just for motorsports in general, it feels like, F1 is burning white hot right now. But I think we saw things go like this basically across the board,
right.
And now they're starting to kind of go like
That's
this,
fair.
but they're never going to be here. NASCAR's never going to be what it was in 2002 again.
No
it's
question.
just
it was so big.
it's never going to happen again.
Big.
But if you can accept that this is still America's most popular racing series, and you're going to get some push from being here at the world's greatest race course, I think it's a worthwhile event. I mean, there's no reason to talk about anything that happened, right? I mean, Allmendinger won from the pole.
Well, what if it's our Love That Play?
Reddick won from the pole.
Could be our Love That Play.
I love that Rossi won. I love what he had to say afterwards. I thought that he was real honest. He could have been like, yeah, it's a great win, and I wanted to hand this off for Michael. And Rossi was just like, look, man, like, we drifted apart. I'm paraphrasing here, but we drifted apart. I had to make a decision. I made that decision. We're moving on.
Look, man, he's a good dude.
I'm still trying to win. Of course he is. But 49 races is way too long for somebody of that talent to go without winning.
He's a major talent for sure. By the way, it's time for Love That Play, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com. 317-353-2141 is their telephone number. Look, we love all the sponsors on this show. Bailey & Wood, the presenting sponsor. We're proud to be partnered with them. Lou Malnati's that we talked about, absolutely spectacular. And then, of course, Chateau Kitchen does a great job. Hoagie and Hops. We've got a number of people that we are connected to, affiliated with, and that includes Love Heating and Air, who've been with us for a long time. And I'm confident in that partnership for two reasons. Number one, I've known them my whole life. And number two, I know that never is somebody going to come to me and say, you know what, I followed up on one of your places. And no, people come up to me and they say, listen, I'm glad that you told me about Love Heating and Air along with all of our sponsors because they take good care of you. That's exactly what Love Heating and Air Conditioning does. Great product, quality of product, great prices, and commitment to customer service, including a 24-hour on-call maintenance. Love-HVAC.com, our favorite play of the week. I have mine, Derek, but you go ahead with yours.
I thought it was a great run for the IndyCar race. Of all of the performances over the weekend, the one that maybe surprised me the most in a good way, Christian Lundgaard's run to P2 on the podium.
Nice.
Best ever IndyCar finish by a lot. He finished 8th in Toronto. He had a couple of top 10s, like back-end top 10s. But good for him, right? In a rookie season, we got to meet him at the American Dairy Association Indiana.
Do you remember what he said
luncheon.
when I asked if he was nervous?
I don't.
We did the American Dairy Association fastest rookie luncheon, and all the rookies are lined up. And Christian Lundgaard, who's the first ever from the country of Denmark to run in the 500. And so I said, all right, guys, whichever one of you guys wants to answer this first, just be honest. Like, are you nervous right now? And I remember Malukas is like, yeah, I'm nervous. And Grosjean's like, I'm definitely nervous. And Lundgaard goes, I'm starting last, so I don't know how worried I need to be.
It's funny when guys can be self-deprecating like that. It's always interesting meeting like Denmark, Sweden, Norway. It feels like there are specific countries out there where those people are just happy all the time.
Right.
Like, they just have a great life. I don't know. I just picture those countries being like clean and no crime. And I don't know if they have a lot to worry about in their everyday life. Like, you mentioned San Diego all the time about 72 and sunny.
Can you imagine?
And weather-wise, I mean, there are perfect places like that that you think of. But I think like satisfaction with living, those drivers seem to have the most.
Yeah, you're right.
Then again, if you're driving race cars for a living, you have a high satisfaction of living, I would think, regardless.
Lundgaard finishing is a good nominee. I will go with actually the finish in the end, and I know that it was kind of thrown off by Ross Chastain. We later found out was penalized. But the last lap of that NASCAR race, those cars can bang a little bit. And Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick's dash to the end there, to me, was pretty darn fun to watch. So I will go with that part. I love that play. That last lap for me was fun to call. I mean,
yeah, it's better than the oval where the winner just checks out for the final 30 laps or whatever.
Now, I'm not sure what this 3CHI is. Do you know?
Yes. Yeah.
You do know that?
Yep.
How do you know?
It's the Shy is for Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 is the 3 ingredients. It's an energy drink made from people the creators were born in the Chicago area, and that's where it's launched. It's hit other markets now. Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio. It's a Midwest regional energy drink, and they're hoping to break nationally.
How sure are you of this?
Like 98% sure.
You're totally sure and positive about this?
Yep. Are you looking it up right now?
I am.
Do they have a Wikipedia entry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what is it then?
How positive are you?
Like 98% sure. Yeah. Because all NASCAR sponsors are energy drinks, or they make, even if it's not their main thing, they manufacture.
So you believe
drinks.
that this is a product that you would enjoy samples of?
What is it now? Now is it like a male performance business or something?
CannaBuddy is proud to bring you our curated collection of 3 Shy products, a wide variety of cannabis options to choose from.
Hell yeah.
Based out of Carmel, Indiana.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Three Chai was founded by a biochemist with 15 years of product formulation experience.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to deconstruct the hemp plant one cannabinoid at a time so they can test, analyze, and reconstruct cannabinoid blends that are exponentially more beneficial than the hemp plant in its natural form. There you go.
Well, energy drink was close.
They got watermelon gummies.
Yeah.
These are Delta 8, though.
Okay.
So there you go.
So they do edibles and stuff? Is that what they do?
I don't know, Derek. I just sat
Well,
there
if
and
they have
read it to
gummies.
you.
I mean, gummies are edible, so I guess that makes sense.
They got the Delta 8. It's all the Delta 8 stuff.
Yeah. I completely made up that Chicago energy drink thing. I just guessed. I'd never heard of 3 Chai in my life.
You were close.
If that's even what you call it, or if it's 3
You
Chi,
were
3
close.
Chai, whatever it is. A legendary passing over the weekend as well. Very sad. But Bill Russell, who was with us for 88 years, has since passed, and we're going to look back on his amazing legacy and one of those guys who did something that just could never be replicated. And we'll tell you why when we return. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
ISC Sports Network. Whether you're watching us on ISC, maybe ISCSportsNetwork.com, maybe you're watching on Comcast 81, perhaps you are watching on our YouTube channel, which is gaining in popularity, youtube.com/Corey and Schultz, Twitch, also which we launched a couple of months ago.
Do you have a Twitch?
We have a Twitch. The show does. I don't have an individual Twitch. No, I mean a Twitch channel. Sorry, not like a Twitch channel.
Chai 3, good for that.
Yes, that's what I've heard now that I've known about this business for the last 5 minutes since you told me about it. Thanks so much for tuning us in. Sad news
The
on
energy drink thing was fairly believable.
Sunday. Yeah, right? I mean, it's NASCAR. Bill Russell passed away at the age of 88. I don't know why you ever get down like a Wikipedia rabbit hole where you're on one thing and then you end up sometimes on a completely unrelated topic. This was within the past year. I never really knew. I feel like I know a lot about like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's life. I felt like I didn't really know a whole lot about Bill Russell. And so I somehow, I don't even remember what I was originally looking up. It was something that had to do with the Naismith Hall of Fame. And I started reading up and read about and then clicked on articles and references in his article about his mistreatment in Boston.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know that he had this like big fracture with the Celtics and wouldn't come back for his jersey retirement ceremony and all. I had never heard any of that. And, you know, obviously all of it makes sense knowing Boston's history and just where race relations were in the 50s and 60s and 70s during his rise to prominence. But what an incredible man, incredible player, incredible legacy. And Jake, I think you can say this factually. Tom Brady is going to be probably the person that comes closest, but Tom Brady didn't win, you know, like a high school championship or a, you know, Olympic medal or something like that. there's nobody that's ever going to be the winner in major pro-American team sports that he was,
I
right?
think there were a couple of things about Bill Russell that jump out. First off, he had a Morgan Freeman-level presence about himself as an older person.
Yeah.
You know, guys like the two of us, I never saw Bill Russell play. I didn't see Bill Russell coach, whether it be maybe if I saw a game where he was coaching the Sacramento Kings or the Seattle Supersonics, I wasn't aware that that's what I was seeing, even though I knew who Bill Russell was, obviously. But as a player, Derek, and this has been well documented and posted in the last 24 hours, but Bill Russell is a player between college, the Olympics, and as an NBA player, played in 21 different games that a loss would have ended the season for his team. And his teams were 21-0 in those situations.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
He won 2 college titles, an Olympic gold medal, and 11 NBA titles as a player. He was a pioneer in the fact that he was the first African-American player coach. He was the first African-American coach in the NBA and the first African-American player coach, I believe, in professional sports in America. But the things away from the court that Bill Russell had to contend with and overcome and carry a grace about him, I think, is what probably is more impressive than the 21-0. Because I didn't know Bill Russell, obviously. I never had the occasion to even interview or be around him. But by all indication, a gentle giant and a true gentleman. And he would have been well within his right with the injustices that he faced in terms of the perceptions and the bias about him because of the color of his skin. He would have been well within his right to have far more angst and aggression about him with that than he did in the way that he carried himself.
Yeah. It's actually amazing that he carried himself the way that he did because
Right.
you'd want to be combative. But then again, he also sometimes African-American players that played in that era sometimes were like, wow, I'm just amazed at how he carried himself. And while that is true, don't get it twisted. He was a very prideful man.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like he didn't just kowtow to
Correct. He did stand up
what
for
he
himself.
was facing.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
which I think is even better.
Right,
the fact
right.
that he was vocal about it and in your face and made people uncomfortable, and that's good. Like that was an era where if you were making people uncomfortable, you were doing the right thing. So that's what really kind of impressed me, and I'm bummed. I've seen some of his interviews, and a Morgan Freeman presence is 100% right, where he's the kind of guy that you wished was your grandfather.
Totally.
He's the wise person kind of sitting under the old oak tree, let
Right.
me tell you a tale kind of guy. But such a massive presence and really, when you talk about the greatest of the greatest players in NBA history, he's on that first tier.
I will never forget, Derek, years
Regardless
ago,
of era.
I worked in a cigar store, Hardwick's, and there was a guy, one of the guys that we had to buy, I can't remember what product we purchased from this company, but the guy was out of Boston, and he had a total Boston accent, which I can't even do.
Yad.
What's that again?
Yad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wicked is a lot
So
of it too.
we would kind of jab at each other. And so one time on the phone with him, I said, he was going off about Indianapolis as a cow town or whatever. And I said, yeah, that might be the case, but don't ever forget, because we would talk about the Celtics and the Pacers a lot.
Sure.
And I said, but the greatest Celtic of all time is a Hoosier. Don't ever forget it. He says, nah, you're wrong. And I'm like, this guy doesn't know Larry Bird from Indiana. What an idiot.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you think I'm wrong? And then he pauses. Bill Russell never stepped a foot in French Lick. Click, and hung up the phone.
Yeah,
And
nice.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. That's a way too grating. I mean, your accents are usually pretty bad. That's just a little.
Well, I can't even do it. I
That's
said
an
I
even
can't do it.
overly
Can you do it
grating
again?
one.
Bye.
I can't do, like, my buddy Stolman can have a whole conversation with you with a Boston accent, and it is freaking hilarious. I can't do, like, the whole conversation. I can only do certain words.
What's the one that they call the basement?
It's the hard A. Down cellar. But it's the hard A, like yad. Like we try to get my father-in-law who grew up in South Boston to say Bar Harbor in Maine.
Yeah.
It's one of his favorite places, and he cannot say it correctly. Bahabba. Bahabba is how you say
Is
it.
he a goat?
No, it's not like man. It's just it's that hard A. They can't.
Bahaba?
Bahabba. They can't get past the hard R.
Why
Or
is
the
that?
hard A, sorry.
No,
And then words that end with A, like he says, instead of Indiana, he says Indiana. So words that end with A also end up with R at
So
the
like
end.
a banana?
Banana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever met an idea person instead of idea? Do you have an idea? I have an idea, like that
Okay.
kind of thing, where words that end with A often end with R with the Boston accent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is the worst accent that there is in all of America. It is the most like hard to listen to, I
Right.
think. Like New York is not as much like that. Like Joey Pentangelo from the Port Authority, like that's a little bit easier to do. But the Boston one is just it's tough because
How
of
would
the
Joey
vowels.
say his name if he worked at the Port Authority?
I'm Joey P from the Port Authority. Hey, who's this kid? Like that's kind of how you do it with that
Okay.
accent. Yeah, I could do New York a little bit better than Boston.
I would like to get a job.
Chicago is like a whole weird thing.
Do you think I could get a job? Let me tell you what like a dream job of mine would be. I would like to just, if I were to just retire, move to New York, live in Queens, and work for the Port Authority, like maybe like one of the subway.
Queens is what you would choose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the,
I thought you want to live in like the Village or something. You always talk about how
I
great
love
that was.
the
Yeah.
Village is the greatest
Yeah.
place ever, right? But like I want to be a blue collar guy and drive one. I want to be the guy that drives the train, the subway.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Is that a hard job? You think?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they have to go through training and all of that. I mean,
Training,
Think
of course.
about how. Think about the bus drivers in Indianapolis and the crap that you have to deal with.
Well, the
just
nice-
driving a
if you-
bus, and that's Indy.
But if you drive the red line, you get 6 days off a week because it doesn't work.
Okay, well,
Like they're gonna redo the
I didn't
line.
expect this to turn into like a public transportation.
No,
thing.
like the red line's like.
See, you strike me as somebody that would just want to go live in a lighthouse and operate it by yourself.
That'd be cool.
Like, I think it would be hard for you to not be around people. You're so interested in people. This is a great Jake Corey story. Sorry, I promise. We're going to get back to sports here. I was at the Mike's Car Wash at 38th and Illinois the other day, and it was a really nice kid there named Dakota. And I was like, I'm pulling up and I give him my express. I have one of those booklets.
North or south?
Express pass. What? No,
Dakota?
just Dakota was his name. And I go, hey, this is really random, but has anybody ever called you Dak before? And he's like, no. And I'm like, like, have you ever heard of Dak Prescott, like the Cowboys quarterback? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, so just Dakota then? He's like, yeah, just Dakota. Have a good day. There was nobody behind me or anything. It reminded me of when we went to that German beer garden in New Orleans for the Final Four, and you were trying to like make small talk with that waitress, and she had no interest in talking with us
None.
whatsoever. You
None.
weren't like being creepy or weird, or just like I think you were asking her about New Orleans, and she had no interest in talking. and Dakota had no interest in talking to me, and I was like, this is probably what Jake encounters a lot.
Never.
And my wife gets mortified whenever
The only time anybody's ever done that to me, ironically enough, was when I was with you with the waitress.
Yeah. Whenever I make small talk like that, I always get people to talk with me because I love having conversations with people too. But that was the first time in a while I've been
I'm the
completely
master
shut
at
off
it,
like
if you don't
that.
mind me saying
Yeah,
so.
you're pretty good at it. Yeah, yeah. You'd make a great
Total-
serial killer. That's why I say that. People just naturally trust you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Jake. What's your name? Jennifer. Oh. What's your social security number? 04264. You seem like a nice guy, so I'm just going to share this with you.
Yeah.
Let's get back with more features. Quick hits still coming up. Bite or Bold Bleep we still have left to do, and a couple of other things to touch on here with Corey and Schultz, episode 96, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
College wasn't built for me.
I didn't care if I had to work a double shift.
Or if my kid had a fever.
Deadline's a deadline.
I want to set the deadlines.
I want to take tests when I'm ready.
I want to take courses on my time.
And speed up when I know my stuff.
I want a university that cares about me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the nonprofit university of you.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
We'll take it.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz, who weirdly and oddly was creeping around and stalking me at the library last week. Sitting there doing some work.
I just had to believe it to see it. We had to shoot a quick video, and I was like, "Can you meet me somewhere?" And he's like, "Well, I'm at Nora Library for the next 8 hours or whatever." I was like, "You're doing work at a library?" So I went up there to make sure that it was true. My eyes did not deceive me. It was Jake doing actual work at a library.
Actually doing schoolwork online, which you can do as well with WGU Indiana. WGU.edu is the place for the most options in terms of continuing your education. The largest online accredited university in the state of Indiana. And again, whether you are going back to school to complete a degree, whether you are going back to school starting for the very first time, or maybe a work certification, WGU.Indiana is the option for you because you can work at your own pace, work on your schedule, and ambition never rests. That's what we love about WGU. WGU.edu/Indiana for all of your online education and continued education options. Derek, they also bring us our Sage Move of the Week. I do love the Sage the Owl's Eye. Look at it.
Forgot. I don't want to look at that.
Honed in. Beautiful.
Your favorite team, the Cincinnati Reds, sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
No surprise. They've been sellers for a while now. But I think they did the right thing in dealing Luis Castillo at his peak. He was the best starter that was available. Seattle knew that the Yankees were interested. By the way, he's going to pitch against the Yankees tonight, Monday night. It's the opener of that series between those two in the Bronx. And they got a haul for him. They got the Mariners' top prospect in Noelve Marte. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. A consensus top 20 prospect. Also Edwin Arroyo, who was a second-rounder from last year's draft, who some believe is going to be a top 50 prospect for next year, and a couple of pitchers as well.
So the Reds actually made out okay?
Who are highly regarded. Yeah, they Joe Sheehan, who I trust, who knows more baseball than I've forgotten about, wrote about it in his latest Sheehan newsletter, and he thinks that the top two players in the draft, in this trade, Marte and Arroyo, can both be, at the very least, frontline players, if not star players, like core players for the Reds moving forward.
Now,
but he also wrote that expect the Reds to move towards contention in the latter half of the 2020s. And I'm like, ugh, that's kind of depressing. Like you have to wait till 2027.
We've had relationships with similar guys, Joe Sheen and Schatz fella.
Aaron Schatz, yeah.
Now,
Football Outsiders.
One of those two guys I don't like, and the other one I'm cool.
You don't like Aaron. Joe was the guy from New York that is a baseball guy. They're both very blunt.
Yes.
Like East Coast people.
Right.
I think Aaron's from the Boston area, and Joe's a native New Yorker. So,
but they sound alike.
They both have, like kind of, you would never know with as combative as they are on Twitter, that they sound like just nice guys.
Joe Sheen is the one that he and I bonded over Casey Kasem, so we talk a lot about that. Aaron Schatz, on the other hand.
Joe would put up with your nonsense. Aaron did not like any indirect questions.
Aaron is the one that pulled up a seat with us at the Combine, right?
Oh, it was awesome to see Aaron Schatz in person. That was like 10-plus years ago. He was at the old Ram Brewery downtown.
Right.
And I was there with you and Shannon.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, I think we were just hanging out because we're best friends. I don't remember the circumstances around that.
You were third wheeling.
And it was during the NFL Combine.
Yeah, and then Aaron Schatz.
And Aaron walked in. I was like, oh, my God, there's Aaron Schatz.
And he pulled up and sat down while we were in the middle of dinner.
Yeah.
Very rude.
When he started reaching onto Shannon's plate to get some of the fries, that was a little much. I'll admit. Yeah. But nice guy.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
Sure.
Yeah.
Other than that,
but a nice guy outside of that. Time for our quick hits as well. I would love to know who gets together to do this, but every year some website or whatever does the valuations of the teams. I think Forbes does it a lot. This was not Forbes. This was Sportico.
Yeah.
New study from Sportico. The Colts, you want to guess most valuable NFL franchise, where they rank?
Dallas Cowboys.
Well, yeah, Cowboys are number one, but where the Colts rank? 32 teams.
23.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed. I would have guessed the early 20s, 26th. So a little bit lower. $3.25 billion ahead of the – do you want to guess the teams ahead of? They're ahead of?
Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yep. They are 30th. There are two teams less valuable than the Jaguars, which
Tennessee
surprised
Titans?
me. Titans are just above them.
Just above the Colts?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder how much Nashville being a better market plays into that, because some of this is market-based. There was only one team. Actually, there were two teams of this group that surprised me that are less valuable than the Colts. Bengals are dead last, 32.
Okay.
Least valuable.
So I've got a few more here. Hang on just a second. I'm thinking like market size is the big thing here.
Yeah. Saints are above them. I think the Saints are one slot above them.
Above the Colts?
Yeah, because
okay,
that market size, they're very small.
That's okay. So I'll just do a couple of them real quick here. This would make no sense.
Okay.
But Buffalo Bills?
Yes. Are less valuable than the Colts. Yes.
You would think that their fan base would offset
the Bills
that a
were
little
29th.
bit. Minnesota Vikings?
No. The Lions were 31st.
Lions, yeah.
And then these two kind of surprised me. The Browns and Cardinals, 27th and 28th. I thought the Browns, just given their history, would be worth more. And I thought Arizona, given the market and the money that's out there, would be, that beautiful stadium would be worth more. But they're not.
What's the least valuable?
Bengals.
And how much are they?
The top five. Oh, I didn't look at the actual valuations. Cowboys number one. They edged the New York Yankees by about $600,000. So they did all the franchises. As far as NFL teams are concerned, Cowboys, Rams, Patriots, Giants, Niners. Yeah.
Market size.
Jets were like number 6.
I mean, you would think that like if the Texans were to win a
the
Super
Bears
Bowl, they
number
would
6,
vault, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the Jets were number 7. Quick hit number 2. This falls in the Greg Rakestraw wheelhouse category, or maybe the Greg Mash wheelhouse category. Ric Flair ended his wrestling career with a win last night.
Do you want to hear something interesting
Sunday
about Greg
night,
Rakestraw? People know Greg Rakestraw for a number of reasons, but Indy 11, he's obviously tied in with them and does a lot with them. I got to the Speedway early on Sunday, and
he runs our graphics.
And Rake is sitting in the media center, and he's got his laptop open, and he's watching something. And the soccer. And I could see that he's watching soccer, and he's very intent on it. He's very honed in.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I said to him, I said, what are you watching? Division II high school championships in Yorkshire, England.
Yeah. Yeah, the English, they call it secondary school out there, don't they? Isn't that what they call high school?
Yeah, but this was tier 2 of that.
Okay, yeah.
So it was
it's exciting.
It was Milton East.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wellhouse. And it was level.
All level, okay.
And he was, and Greg was like chewing fingernails.
Oh, see, he's saying you're lying. See, that's the thing when you run the
Not
graphics.
True English Championship, Cardiff and Norwich.
when
Is it Norwich or Norwich?
Norwich.
Huh?
When you run the graphics,
sure?
You can't get anything.
Well,
by
like
Greg.
Smittix, it smelled Smithwick's, but it's
That's
Smittix.
true. Yeah.
So I think that might be Norwich.
Or like instead of Barcelona, it's Barcelona.
That's right. Out there they say Barcelona. Yeah. I'm going to be there in October. I'm going to ask him.
Yeah. Tell Oriole that you're going. That's from his parts, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Oriole Servia.
You know what he told me?
What?
I told Oriole. I asked Oriole Servia and Pelot both because they're both from that area. Their tips, and Oriole Servia said you have to go on the tourist double-decker bus.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I said,
you got to do all the touristy stuff.
And he actually said to me, he's like, it sounds dumb, I know, but it is. It'll give you a good baseline. Except for, of course, he says there's no R's in that, I guess.
Yeah,
but the double decker. But he did say he's like that will give you an indication as to what you want to see, and you'll get a layout of it. So.
Yeah. That's what I would do. I would just any of those places. I would just do. Give me the 5 most touristy things that you can do, and I would do it. Because when else in your life are you ever going to be in Barcelona? Spain.
Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It sounds.
Apparently, that is a thing, though.
It's like the English Premier League when they say, Manchester have won. Like, what? Like, that sounds so dumb. 73-year-old
It's like
Ric Flair wrapping up his Hall of Fame career. Bloody face, but a great match on Sunday night.
Is he the woo guy?
The what?
Woo?
Yeah, woo! He did his figure 4 leg lock, which is finishing move. 10,000 fans there at Municipal Auditorium in Nashville. I wasn't aware of the promotion that he was wrestling for. I was not a Ric Flair guy because I was staunchly anti-WCW. In the 90s, I only watched, and he was with WWF for like a little bit of a spell there. I was strictly WWF, so all the WCW guys sucked. And that was a time, actually, when WCW was up there, and like Monday Nitro for a while was better than Raw.
Who else was WCW?
Well, there were a lot of guys that went over, like Razor Ramon, who was not Razor Ramon in WCW,
What about
went
Hulk
over.
Hogan?
And Diesel, who was not Diesel when he went over. Yes, Hulk Hogan went over to WCW, but Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg later on in the 90s was WCW.
Owen, who was the Owen fella that passed?
Owen Hart.
Yeah, what was he?
He died in a WWF event.
Okay.
Where he was rappelling from the ceiling, and it was a freaking tragedy. But yeah, that was the era. NWO
Andre
was
the
a
Giant.
huge
What was he? Andre the
wrestling
Giant
promotion. That was just WWF, I think. That was before my time. So Andre the Giant and stuff like that. My first foray into wrestling was like Ultimate Warrior.
Have you ever seen the documentary
$1
on
Million
Andre the
Men,
Giant?
Ted DiBiase, like that group of guys.
Have you ever seen the documentary on Andre the Giant? He's drinking like a tall boy can of beer, and it's like this. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Quick hit number 3. Noah's Ark Museum in Kentucky is suing their insurance company over damages from heavy rains. The owners of the Kentucky attraction are demanding an insurance bailout after heavy rains caused $1 million in damage.
Well, that seems ironic, does it not? Shouldn't they have seen this coming?
The federal lawsuit, the Ark Encounter, says the Ark itself wasn't damaged.
By day 38, did they figure out it might have been for real?
The Ark itself was not damaged, but an access road that they used to get to the Ark for any sort of maintenance and stuff flooded out and it caused a landslide, and they reported it to their insurance. And the insurance company, Allied World Assurance Company Holdings of Switzerland, said, no. We cover the Ark. We do not cover the access road. So looking for a payout here. But I thought that headline was awesome, that Noah's Ark suing for heavy rain damage.
Okay.
Of course you would.
Are they going to send 2 of every lawyer?
There we go. We're going to wrap up next. Hopefully no more bad jokes.
That wasn't a bad joke. It was actually pretty good.
Chateau Kitchens, buy it or bull bleep, and then we will send you on your way. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender here on ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jake Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Time to wrap up for the day and for the week, I guess, with our Chateau Kitchens Buy It or Bull Bleep. Jake's got the
Derek,
hat.
it's my favorite hour of the week.
Kind of a moment of truth.
Spin with you.
Actually, I won't know this until next week, so we can carry the moment of truth into 2 separate weeks. They have our basement quote ready for Chateau, so we're going to go to the showroom up in Carmel and see the renderings and see the plan for our luxurious basement and decide whether we can move
the toilet. What'd you do with the toilet?
We had somebody take out the toilet, and we were originally thinking we were going to do a half bath down there because it's plumbed for that. But our house, weirdly, because, you've been there, it's not that big. We have 3 full bathrooms in that house. So we really don't need another half bath down in the basement. Wow. I mean, it'd be nice. I don't have to walk up the stairs to go number 1 or number 2 and just have it right there. But it's not that big of a deal. Like I can make it upstairs. There was actually one time where I was watching a game and I was downstairs and I almost didn't make it upstairs. But normally speaking, because I did the first time. Have I told this story on the show before where I thought the toilet worked because I had flushed it before and it worked. It was a very old toilet. It's a 1927 house. And solid, not liquid, was the waste and went number 2 in that downstairs toilet like the first week that we bought the house. And I tried to flush it and it didn't. The water drained out, but the solid portion of it stayed in the bowl. So I had to then get gloves and, remove it, remove the waste from the bowl. So I ended up doing that. It was no big deal. And no big deal. Well, when it's your own, it's less of a problem than when you're having to do somebody else's. Like if somebody else did it and then I had to remove the solid of that, then that would be. I was a busboy once at a ritzy restaurant, and they made me clean up. Somebody puked in the bathroom of the bar, and they made me in the sink, and they made me clean it up. And it was somebody else's vomit, and that was awful. That was my last night on that job. But anyway, the Chateau Kitchens quote is coming up here. So happy stuff. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook.
My dad is a really patient guy.
Mm-hmm.
He took me to ball games as a kid growing up, and I, kind of figured out towards the end, maybe he wasn't a huge Bengals fan, but he took me because he knew I wanted to go to games and a lot of different things. He's a very patient guy.
He doesn't like when I bring up the number 2 stuff, right?
He co-parented 3 children.
Okay.
He's a grandfather of 3. He's never, in terms of my career, my dad has never offered any. He's pretty honest with constructive criticism.
Just let you do your own thing.
He's never been direct.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 months ago, I had to give him a ride somewhere. His car's getting worked on or something.
Sure.
And we're driving. And we're driving along, and Gordon Lightfoot's playing or something, and so we're just singing along. And then, pleasant trip. And my dad, out of nowhere, just says, by the way, can you tell Derek that he should limit the potty talk?
Yeah. Well, I mean, literally and figuratively, this is about a potty. But, yes, I think we're all mature adults. I mean, everybody's been in that situation where sometimes you have to clean up your own poo. Everyone has had that situation before. Here's what we do with Bite or Bull Bleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's Bull Bleep. There will never be a champion in American sports like Bill Russell. Statement 1, Bite or Bull Bleep. It's a different time, right? There's just – and no offense to the Celtics, how many teams were in the NBA during that time? 12?
No, I mean, in terms of – I think actually it was 8. But in terms of the number of championships, maybe someone eventually matches it. In terms of the record of being 21-0 in elimination games.
It's insane. And every level, too, is crazy.
So I will buy it.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it, too. I have to. NASCAR Cup cars should go back to the IMS Oval. Buy it or Bull Bleep?
I'm going to say Bull Schultz on that, Derek. I think that –
could they rotate it? Is that a dumb question?
That's not a dumb question. That's fair. That's probably not a bad idea.
Right? Just to find a happy medium, because I don't think it matters. So I'm going to say –
I actually thought, too,
I'm going to say Bull Bleep.
The formation of the oval itself with the road course. Like, could you do more of – I was trying to figure this out. Could you do it where you've got to do a lap and then go onto the road course and then work your way back on, except for that, like, people going back onto the oval and then somebody who's doing a lap are going to be at speed. It probably gets too dangerous.
Yeah, probably too dangerous. I'm going to say Bull Bleep, but you could talk me into doing a changeover each way. Final statement. We got about a minute left. These wide receiver mega extensions, Deebo Samuel just signed a big one. Are a mistake. Buy it or Bull Bleep?
No, I buy that. I think very few players you're going to see go the lifetime of a contract.
Yeah, I don't like blanket statements. I think some of them have been smart, but somebody like Samuel, I think you could find. Not that he's not a great player, but you could find in the draft. Thanks to all of our guests, sponsors, Lou Malnati's, Bailey and Wood Financial Group, Chateau Kitchens, Love Heating and Cooling, WGU Indiana. Thanks for being part of this wonderful, wonderful
Get
show.
Bailey and Wood in there.
For Jake Query, I'm Derek Schultz. We will see you next time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Bye-bye.
No more potty talk, I promise.
Please.